Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we finally have our very first look at the new legendary tier French battleship Bourgogne. So, with that being said, let's look at our commander. We are running Robert Gijard with Azure Lane Scharnhorst and Paolo de Revel. We are running Flammable Cannoneer, Gyrating Drill Bits, Megalomania, and Reaching Out XXL. With will to rebuild for, a little bit of extra survivability, if you get a chance to use it. Alright, so one thing to note, gyrating drill bits might be taking away from this ship a little bit, so this might be one of those instances where you want to avoid using gyrating drill bits. But for me, the extra AP damage and the extra gun traverse is kind of what I prefer out of it. But I do understand you reduce your maximum speed by quite a bit. I believe right now it's 38.5 knots. Or 28.5 knots. It went up to 29.7 knots because I'm running the booster currently. So let me get rid of that booster for you guys, so you can see. Yeah, maximum speed, 28.8 knots. So you get a little bit over 1.1 knots extra speed with the flag, or with the Epic Battle Booster. Okay? Now, if we swap our commander perk out for crisscross, now obviously that's going to give us a little bit more gun traverse speed, which is nice. But what you get out of it is maintaining your ability to go fast. So you have a 32 knot battleship. And then with the engine boost on top of that, like this may be one of the rare cases where I'm like, okay, this might actually be worth it to not use gyrating drill bits, in my opinion. I could be wrong. You guys can let me know. But currently, our gun traverse is 32.4 seconds. If we take that off, whoops, and put gyrating drill bits back on, what does that go up to? It goes up to 30.8 seconds. So you're not giving yourself that much of a boost in traverse speed. So I don't know. Like, that's the downside. There's not really a good substitute. That's why most people do run gyrating drill bits. So you get more out of this perk than you get out of this perk, despite this one actually having a reduction in your top speed. So I feel like that would be a good idea. Now here's the next question. We're running Megalomania instead of Marksmanship. I do like Marksmanship, but being able to reload your guns faster does come in handy on this ship. Especially with those reload boosters as well. So what this basically does, this gets you down to almost being able to knock out 2 full reloads using your reload booster. If you guys aren't sure of what I'm talking about, your reload booster cuts your reload in half. Okay? Our base reload right now is 20.8 seconds. It's just enough to be over the limit. But I don't want to take Scharnhorst off and put Charles Madden on, because I don't think he's going to help us a lot in the reload department. And maybe he's the key. I mean, we could check it real quick. Might as well. If we take Scharnhorst off and put Madden on, Madden is the other commander that helps buff your reload. So if we do that, boost his adoption. Now what does that give? Whoops. What does that give us in terms of? Okay, now our 180-degree turn time is under 30 seconds, but the reload time's still not quite under the 20 seconds. If it was under 20 seconds, then you could definitely make the case for having that. Now, the other thing that you could look at is the skill, or the equipment that we're running. We're running Aiming System Mod 1 here. You could add some traverse speed using this now that there's no negative there, but personally, the accuracy is definitely needed. You could go armament durability, though I haven't seen a need to do this yet. This thing doesn't lose guns quite as easily as like Jean Bart does, so I don't think this is necessary, in my opinion. Then, of course, we're running steering gears and concealment mod. And then for the final perk, we are running main battery mod 3 for the extra reload time. And that is also what is making our traverse speed a little worse. So keep that in mind. Now, the secondaries, surprisingly, are actually pretty good on this. Much like, I believe, the Republique. It has a bit of a longer range secondary. Let me go ahead and pop up the tier 8s while we're at it. Just do that, and let's put the French on so we see what we got. So if you look at the Republique's secondaries, They reach out to 6.3 as well. So that's what I'm talking about. These things have pretty solid starting range for their secondaries, meaning you could get the secondaries if you wanted to do so. You could get the secondaries out to a decent range using a brawler build. I don't think that that's the right build for this ship, but if that's what you want to do, they are very effective secondaries. Trust me. Now, with that in mind, I don't recommend you go with a secondary build. That's not what I'm saying. And we're not gonna keep Madden on here. I prefer Scharnhorst for the extra dispersion buff, or shell. I think it's dispersion. Yeah. And that's my opinion. If you don't have Scharnhorst, you can use Cunningham or you can use Madden. Depends on your play style. But definitely recommend Palo de Revel to help knock that reload time down. Getting it close to getting 2 full reloads in your reload booster is pretty nice. And of course, for the last one, we got reaching out for the extra range because you do kind of need it in this. You could go properly meticulous. I don't think you need to. And then, of course, damage control party, cooldown time. I never recommend this perk because it reduces your immunity period by 70%. So I definitely don't recommend this, but, you know, to each their own. All right, so let's get into... We already talked about the equipment. We are fully upgraded. Let's get into loadout. We're running the Italian Unity flag. It was a flag that you got for entering a code on the... WoW Legends website. I like it because it kind of looks like a Spartan flag if you just kind of like squint hard enough. We are running the Revolutionary camo. I made a permanent camo out of it because, you know, Vive la France. I know, right? See? There you go. But anyway, we have 3 repair parties. We have 2 reload boosters and we have 2 engine boosts. Now, you could swap the engine boost for a secondary consumable if you so choose. And again, this is one of those things where you could potentially make the argument for going secondaries. I don't think it's the right choice, but if you like that sort of build for a meme or two, I wouldn't say it would be the worst ship. So, yeah, maybe give it a shot. Survivability is where this ship actually suffers. This thing does not have a lot of hit points for a legendary ship. 70,960 hit points, 55% torpedo damage reduction. It's very good torp production. Very good. And that comes in handy quite a bit. That is literally Yami type torp production. That's pretty good. Artillery, you got the downside. 380 millimeter 45 caliber 1935 guns. I believe these are the same guns that are on Richelieu and Jean Bart. However, I don't think they feel like they don't penetrate quite as well at distance as Jean Bart. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just me. But they just don't feel like that at those extreme ranges, anything 16 kilometers and beyond. I feel like if they hit any sort of armor, they just bounce and shatter. Like they just don't have enough penetration, or their pin angles are not necessarily the greatest. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to do a little bit more experimenting to find out what I like most with this ship in terms of how to play it. But to start out, though, 380 millimeter guns, those are 15-inch guns. Why is that not a good thing? Well, you don't really overmatch anything except maybe a Mino. Okay, Des Moines has 27 millimeter bow, so you don't overmatch it. Alaska, 32 mil. Worcester, 32 mil. Pretty much everything has 32 millimeters or 27 millimeters and up at legendary tiers. So you're not going to overmatch very many ships, which means that a lot of times you're going to get into a situation where you really need to potentially switch over to HE and burn some people to the ground. You can only farm so much with the superstructure. And without going full accuracy build on this thing, aka taking Megalomania off and going marksmanship, you're not going to get that accuracy that is just absolute god tier. It does have very good accuracy most of the time, which is why I went with Megalomania to get a little bit faster reload and give up a tiny bit of accuracy, because I can deal with the occasional shotgun as long as I'm getting my shells out a little bit quicker in this ship. Because there are times when you absolutely need those shells to come back quickly. Okay? 180 degree turn time, again, 30.8 seconds. Not bad. Not great. It's a solid 180 degree turn time for a battleship, especially a quad turret. HE shell maximum damage 5400 with a 36% chance to set fires, and AP shell maximum damage is just 13,090, which is not bad for a 15-inch gun, but again, it's a 15-inch gun at legendary tier. Secondary armament, 127 millimeter 54 caliber MLE 1948. You get 16 of those, reaching out to 6.3 kilometers base range with a 4-second reload time. That's pretty freaking good. That's 5-inch guns with a 4-second reload time. That's solid. And then, of course, they fire HE with a maximum damage 1800 and a 9% chance to set fires. Now, I don't know why the Americans 5-inch 38. Now, obviously, these would have more velocity, but I don't know why they don't have like the same fire chance or same similar reload. Technically, I think because the barrels are shorter on the 5-inch 38, you would be able to cycle them faster. But you know, these are a newer gun than the 5-inch 38, so maybe that has something to do with it. If you know, let me know down in the comments below. But for the other secondaries, you have the 152 millimeter 55 caliber MLE 1950s. You get 9 of those, reaching out to 6.3 kilometers, reloading in 8 seconds, doing 2200 damage with HE, and a 12% chance to set fires. AA defense in this thing is pretty freaking solid. It's not max, but it's pretty good. You get 20 millimeter 70 caliber Mark IVs. You get 4 of those, doing 14 damage per second, reaching out to just 2 kilometers. So not great, obviously. But then you got the 20 millimeter 70 caliber Oerlikon Mark 24s. You get 16 of those, doing 49 damage per second, reaching out to 2 kilometers. Again, close in, not the best, right? Nothing is getting shot down by those until they're right on top of you, which is not where you want to be shooting down planes. And then, of course, the good thing is you got 57 millimeter 60 caliber ACAD MLE 1951s. You get 24 of those, doing 306 damage per second, reaching out to 4.5 kilometers. That's pretty solid. And a decent range as well. That's a mid-range, decent amount of AA. And then, of course, you have the 127 millimeter 54 caliber MLE 1948 dual purpose secondaries. You get 16 of those, doing 126 damage per second and reaching out to 5.2 kilometers. So you got a decent chunk of your AA that reaches out to medium to long range for AA, which is nice. That comes in real handy when shooting down planes. You don't want to be waiting until they get their ordnance away before you shoot them down. All right, maneuverability, maximum speed with this build, 28.8 knots. Again, we already talked about if you take gyrating drill bits off, you can get that up to 32. And then you could build a speed build and probably get that even higher. You might be able to eke out like 34, 36 knots. And then you get into the speed, or like the speed booster, and suddenly you're going to be doing, you know, 30 or 40 knots close to it in a battleship. Like that could be spicy. Let me know if anybody does a full speed build on Bourgogne, what your maximum speed ends up. But 910 meter turning circle feels very Iowa-esque. Rudder shift, again, 13.3 feels very Iowa-esque. It's not the shiftiest thing in the world, doesn't turn the best. And when you're going speed, you got to keep in mind, trying to turn at any sort of speed takes a while. All right. So you got to watch your turns, and you got to watch because it doesn't like to shift back and forth. It feels pretty familiar to me because I'm used to playing American big battleships like the Iowa, the Montana. I'm used to it. So I can handle it, but it's just something to keep in mind. It's not the shiftiest battleship in the world. It's not a German battleship that can turn on a dime. So keep that in mind. Concealment, 13.7 by sea. 11.4 by air, 2 is always guaranteed, and the 14.5 kilometer smoke firing penalty. So, pretty much right in the neighborhood of most battleships. Nothing crazy there. Alright, so here's the next thing. You got a 32 millimeter bow, no icebreaker or anything, so it's just a straight 32 millimeter bow, meaning Yami and Musashi go straight through your bow. Keep that in mind. We look at our ship, we actually have a turtleback armor configuration. You can see that nice little sloping armor coming down over top of the top of the citadel. That's very nice. You also have a nice little set of torpedo bulge here that is 32 millimeters on its own. So they have to, if you angle this, you're going to be pretty solid against pretty much everything. You've got 32 millimeters on top as well, with the exception of the superstructure, obviously. The turrets are pretty heavily armored, so you don't have, like I said, these don't feel like they get knocked out near as often as like Republique, or not Republique, but the Jean Bart does. Like, they feel more Richelieu-esque in terms of not getting knocked out. Okay, if we get rid of all that, get rid of our, oh, there's our turtleback. Let's get rid of the guns and get rid of the deck. And there you see the turtleback in all its glory. And I have not been citadeled in this thing yet. Not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying that I have yet to receive a citadel. And I've been caught a few times. So keep that in mind. Now with that being said, you do have a bit of a raised citadel. It's not a big one, but it is slightly raised. And it extends from the frontmost gun to the rearmost gun, obviously. The scariest part for me would be if you get shot through the butt, I think. I think that would be the part where you get into most trouble. If you look here, if you go through the bow side plating, you're not as likely to get into, like, at the angle that you're going through to get into that citadel, because it's such a skinny, like, citadel, I don't think you're likely to citadel it as easily through the front. I mean, you basically would have to aim just in front of the front turret to pin that at an angle and get into that citadel. Whereas at the rear, you have the potential. There's not a lot of room here at the back of the ship. There's potential here if you catch them while they're going away slightly over-angled. And this is what I talked about with the Republique as well. Republique gets citadeled most when it's going away. Like, if you're going away from somebody and you're angling and they catch you, getting citadeled through the rear is a very real possibility, especially the rear side plating. So keep that in mind. And the turtleback doesn't help you in that situation. If you look, the turtleback covers the sides. It does not cover the front and the back. Okay? So you can access the citadel right through here. So keep that in mind. Alright, and with that, let's look at the thing. Fast, above average maximum movement speed. I do believe that this is the fastest legendary battleship currently in the game. Barrage can be equipped with main battery reload booster. And full ahead, equipped or can equip with engine boost. Bourgogne, a battleship design developed in France in response to the construction of the German H-class battleships. The ship was a development of the Richelieu class, but in contrast to her predecessor, she had more powerful artillery that was arranged according to a more reasonable scheme. One of the design versions received 12 380mm guns that were placed in 3 main turrets. She was designed in 1939, never built. So, if you're used to the French battleships at this point, you know what to expect out of the 15-inch guns. I do think that at distance, they tend to slack off. And I think that's true for all of the French battleships, with the exception of Republique. Republique's 17-inch high-velocity guns are disgusting. These ones are very good, but over a distance, anything over like 17 kilometers, you do seem to struggle to pin if you hit any sort of armor whatsoever. So, with that being said, let's take a look at the ship. It is a decent-looking ship. It's about time we get a gun on the back. That comes in handy. We got those secondaries everywhere that we were talking about. All the AA as well. You'd love to see it. But yeah, I mean, she's a good-looking ship. And she's got an extra turret, which is always good, which gives her a 12-gun broadside. So if you give this thing a broadside, be prepared to get whacked. Remember, French magic bullets, okay? 15 inches or not. You give this thing a broadside, you better be prepared to get smashed. And it has a reload booster for 12 guns. So, yeah. Highly don't recommend giving this thing a broadside. And with that being said, let's get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so we're going to be on Land of Fire in the new Bourgogne. Now, like I said, this ship has very similar feel in terms of its ability to get around the flanks and utilize crossfires effectively. I haven't had the perfect match for this ship yet. I've been put into a lot of overwhelming odds, some very nasty engagements against me where I have to fight off multiple ships from a bow-in sort of position. And that's the one thing that this thing does have in its favor. It does have 2 quad-barrel guns at the front, meaning you don't have to get the rear gun involved unless you absolutely like have an easy shot. Like, that's the thing. Here you're going to get to see the turning radius of this thing, not the greatest. We are going to be running the engine boost because we want to get over to the left flank and help those guys out. I have a feeling that they're going to need it, so that's where I decide that I'm going to go. Now, interestingly, the guy that spawned next to me in the Musashi is actually a guy that I just obliterated in the previous match. I was in a Yami, he was in a Musashi, he went broadside, I caught him, and then he stayed broadside because he ran into an island, unfortunately for him. But, yeah. We ended up losing that match, by the way, because there was a Shima left, and I got caught by a Minos Torps, and then I got caught by the Shima Torps while I was fighting the Musashi. So, yeah, it was not an ideal situation for either of us, but in the end, he's on our team. Now, we have a Musashi out here just kind of begging for it. I'm like, okay, he's right on the edge of my range. If I can get around this corner, I can potentially hit him. But nope, he's going to get out of my range right as we get here. And now, this is what I'm going to show you guys. This ship does have really good accuracy. Like, I'm talking, if you build specifically for accuracy, this thing can probably rival Montana accuracy. Okay, it's pretty solid. You couple that with a faster fire rate and a reload booster, and you've got a recipe for a disaster if you're on the enemy team and you go broadside to this thing. The issue that I have with this, currently, is that most of the time, you're not up against broadsides. You get people, and we've already lost Des Moines, and yeah, you can already see where this is probably heading. It's not going in our favor, as our Des Moines decided he wanted to YOLO forward with our destroyer and not take use of any of the islands. But I digress. We have yet to actually get to shoot anything. We do have a Yami out here. We're going to take a shot middle of the ship towards the superstructure here. You can see I aim a little bit high. Maybe could have aimed a little higher there, looking back at this shot. But watch what happens. We take the shot. It's on its way. Front guns only. We get 3 ricochets and 1 hit. Now again, this is Yami, okay? Like, Yami has really good armor, unless, of course, you're in a Musashi broadside, in which case we're going to expose just how nasty this thing can be if you give it a broadside. All 3 guns to bear, firing the guns. Wait for it. Okay, you can see that accuracy, not the best. Now keep in mind, we're running the reload, not the accuracy on this thing. So we're going to get some shots that are a little troll like that. But I'm telling you, when I didn't run the reload, this thing was ridiculously accurate. Like, very, very good. Very few salvos of iffy. Now you can see there, we do get a nice little punch on that Musashi, and that's when our buddy who ran away from his flank has decided to wrap around in front of us, and just as I'm trying to like go forward and get to the island and try to shield myself from one of the guys, he's going to turn across my bow. And then he's going to do the unthinkable. There's an Alaska 3 kilometers away from us. We can see him because I'm assuming that this GK is running his sonar. Could also be spotted due to the destroyer, but I'm going to go with the sonar as the option. Now, the GK decided, okay, there's a Musashi, there's a Alaska, and a Yamato out here. Oh, and there's a Conqueror coming. I'm just going to go full broadside in front of everybody and see how quickly I can throw away 100,000 hit points. Well, how's that working out for you, buddy? Oh, yep, you've already lost half your hit points. Not bad, not bad. You're off to a great start. The Alaska, smart. Actually, there's a second Musashi. So we had 2 Musashis and a Yami and an Alaska, and the GK's like, yeah, I think I'll go broadside in front of them. I don't understand it. I really don't. But, you know, some people, they don't think necessarily. But he's going to get himself obliterated, as he should, and he's not long for this world. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Hayate has managed to take out one of their ships. They've lost 2 battleships to us losing 1 cruiser, so we've actually managed to pull this back into our favor. And if you watch what's going on across the map on the mini-map, you can see there was a beautiful hit into the superstructure, and that's those French magic bullets I always tell you guys about. Now, the French ships have a unique ability to arm into superstructures. I don't know why. That's why I call them French magic bullets. They don't make any sense, but French bullets do tend to arm in the superstructure of ships nastily. Now, it's not that they're the only ones that get that to happen, but it does happen a lot on the French when you aim for superstructures. They do tend to get full penetrations on superstructures, even on a Yami. Because we only hit 3 shells into the superstructure, but they were all 3 full pins, which is why we did 11,000 damage. But you can see we're bow in, and Yami's doing what Yami do best, which is just stay bow in and annihilate. That time we get 5 penetrations out of the 8 shells sent down range. And we get another 9,000 damage, I think, on him. And I'm trying to bait this Alaska and coming around the corner. I'm also trying to get my Musashi that's behind me to come up. The reason I'm trying to get this Musashi to come up is so that he actually is in a position not just to give me will to rebuild, but to limit who can shoot him. Currently, his position is allowing him to be focused by... Oh my god! Hi, Yugamo! Fancy meeting you here. Reload booster! There's the first shot. Remember, you're gonna need 2 shots, right? Thank God we had a reload booster ready to go. We take 1 on the bow. He's decided that the other one should be saved for the other guy. And then I go ahead and finish him off with my second reload. And then we get absolutely pummeled by the enemy Yami. I mean, I'm fairly confident he hit us with every single shell there from his front guns. And so we're just looking around. We got a Musashi parked out here, way over angled, and I'm kind of salivating, but I can't push it because there's a Yami here. And so I got to watch out for Big J over there in the Yami. I get another good shot into a superstructure, and it's at this point I'm starting to think about switching over to AG, but then I'm like, nah, I guess I'll hold. I got 1 more heal that's about to be popped up, so we can survive a little bit longer if we can get some help. Look at the map. We have help on its way. Any moment, those guys are going to have a crossfire on these guys, and these Yamis are broadside to them. So if we can bait these guys forward a little bit further, bring them into that gap, then our teammates can help us out. So that's the goal. We have triggered our last heal. We're going to get up to about 23,000. Nope, never mind. Yami says, nope, you get 17. 18. So we take another shot into the Yami here, and right after we punch him, I'm fairly confident he's about to get oh, never mind, hold that thought. Alaska says hello. He eats a torpedo, and then we are going to say hello right back. 6 seconds, and we get to aim this shell in. We got 8 shells of French magic bullets about to say hello to his number 2 turret. And pop goes the weasel. Pretty confident that even if he was a little healthier, he was dead there. Their Yami goes down. I'm fairly confident he ate some torpedoes from the middle, and you can see that our torpedo boats are coming through there. And then this Musashi is over-angled here, so I've got to try to get a shot into his cheek. We're going to go ahead and take that shot, and we do, in fact, get a shot through the cheek. We get double Citadel on him, so that's going to keep him from, make him think twice about coming forward and trying to challenge us. He's going to go ahead and try to bow tank, and when he does try to bow tank, he's going to get annihilated. And, oh, there's 1 shot, and right as we shoot, watch this, we're going for superstructure, and bonk, there's all the torpedoes saying hello. So we get our damage, and the torpedoes say hello to finish him off. So again, this is one of those situations where it's not always trying to win your side. You've just got to hold sometimes, and that's what we did in this one. We held. We came over to this side, and we are the only one to survive this side that wasn't a destroyer. Why? Well, part of it is because of our teammates' ability to just sit there and take it. I mean, those guys did literally just take so much firepower away from shooting me for a little while. But look how long we survived. And we now have a perfect opportunity to come out here and smack this Conqueror, who just took some torpedoes and as well as took a hit from our battleship. We've got our engine boost running. We're rolling into the cap. We're the first one into the cap to start the flip process, and hello, Conqueror. How you doing, buddy? We don't aim waterline here. We did lose a couple of shells on the island, unfortunately, but we just blapped the crap out of him, and yeah, he's not long for this world. But in his dying breath, right as he dies, he does get a couple of shells away from his secondaries, and of course they set a fire. We've got a damage con for that. Now, they have 2 destroyers left. One is a Gearing, and I think the other one is a Shima. So, I'm not sure exactly where they're at. One of them's currently in Bravo, and there's a mess of torpedoes heading in our direction. So, guess which one that one is? Clearly, that's the Shima. And then I get shot from a freaking smokescreen behind me, and I can't tell whether this is the enemy destroyer that shot at me, or if this was a Hayate who decided to shoot at me. This is why you don't shoot at your freaking teammates. Why? Because I kind of figured that there's a destroyer back there, but this guy's literally shooting me, and I'm trying to figure out whether it is me thinking there's a destroyer there, or if there's actually just a teammate that's wanting to shoot me for whatever reason. And you'll see in a moment, he goes ahead and shoots me again, as I've got my guns trained on the smoke screen behind me, which I'm fairly confident is the Hayate smoke screen. But we're gonna be turning back in towards the middle of the map. We've got the base cap. We've got the points. We've done 155,000 damage. Not a huge damage game, but a solid game to get used to this ship. Considering the amount of firepower we were up against, we're lucky we were able to survive as long as we did to give our team the chance to actually do that. Now imagine what happened if we folded as fast as everybody else on our side did and allowed these Yamatos and Musashis to move away and start to attack the rest of our team. We probably lose that match. But because we were able to hold them, and because we were able to lure them into their crossfires with torpedoes and battleships that were coming from the other side, we were able to successfully win this match. And it's all down to that. Our inability to get ourselves killed and our teammates' ability to throw their ships away just wasn't quite enough to lose this match. It was just one of those where you just hold. And while I don't hate this ship, I do find it's going to be one of those ships that I think most people are not going to enjoy this ship. Though I enjoy it. It is definitely a live and die by crossfires sort of ship. It is not something that you're going to be wanting to sit in a bow-in position and try to sling back and forth, because you're not going to trade enough hit. Like any fight that you get into where you're trading bow-in shots, you're probably not going to win that fight in the Bourgogne. So keep that in mind. But other than that, I mean, it's a good ship. It's fast. It's a nice tanky battleship. It can take a beating. Like, it doesn't have that many hit points, but it's got French magic armor, so that comes in handy. But again, if you don't get those crossfires, you can see how difficult it was for us to get some damage there. Until they over-angle, in which case we blapped the crap out of them. Now here, I know the gearing's out here. We see a smoke screen. The Shima's going around the corner to drop torps into that smoke screen to flush the guy out. The game's almost over. We're over 900 points. And so I was hoping that the gearing would end up fighting our Shima and then I could help kill him. That's not what happens. The gearing actually wraps all the way back around, comes back out in front of me, and this is pretty much the end of the game. There's 50 points left until this one's over. So let me know what you guys think about the Bourgogne. Are you interested in getting it at all? Let me know. Because personally, I kind of like it. It's not going to be one of those meta ships. It's not going to be something that anybody can just jump in and do amazingly in. It's a ship that, if played well, is going to reward the person who's playing it. It's also a ship that, if played poorly, is just going to be another ship at the bottom of the leaderboard. But I mean, at the end of the day, we all know it's the person in control of the ship, not the ship itself. 155,000 damage, Confederate, high caliber, top of the leaderboard, 2,600 base XP. Basically 2,700 base XP. And if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.